So the school year has started, and if you are new to homeschooling, or even if you are not new to homeschooling, lesson planning is always kind of the area where I find a lot of people get hung up on. And I also struggle with this, maybe not quite as much as someone who's never done it, because, for a long time in my career, I had to do lesson plans. And being the special ed teacher with a variety of grade levels. At one point, I had kindergarten through fifth grade all in one classroom of varying difficulties, of varying speech, of varying cognitive abilities. I had to write lesson plans for each of the students in my classroom. And so at one point, I was writing approximately 14 different lesson plans because I wanted to individualize it for each of the kids I had. Translate now into homeschool, and that is given me the ability to write lesson plans for each of my two boys because they are on vastly different levels. If you have seen any of my other homeschool videos, you know I have my oldest son Logan, who is in 10th grade. My youngest son, Kevin, is in second grade. And so there's not a whole lot of area in which they crisscross. We are able to share some topics, like for history, we're all studying some form of world history. But as far as actual lessons or curriculum, we really don't cross over very much. So I wanted to make today's video to show you how I plan lessons for my second grader and everything that entails so that you can kind of see what my process is, what my thought processes are, how I get things down on paper, how I make sure that I am building in some review and also some rest time, right? Because one of the things about homeschooling is you are not required to do 8 hours a day of a breakneck speed. You are not required to finish a curriculum. And that's really hard for me, especially because I am very type A and I like to check the boxes. But over the years, I have learned that building in margins of rest or just margins of time that are not super scheduled, that give us that time to maybe catch up on something or even go forward or do something fun that maybe I hadn't thought of, but all of a sudden Kevin is really interested in doing something like an experiment or building something. Having those areas written into our homeschool lessons actually gives me permission to do what I need to do and still keep it fun. So keep watching and I will show you how I build lesson plans for my second grader. So I don't plan my lessons out for the entire year. I generally have an idea. I know what curriculum we're going to use, so I know what topics we're going to cover. But for me, it works better to work on a month-by-month format. This also allows me to push things forward into the following month if we just had a really weird month and we were behind on a few things. So for example, this is the last week of August. We are getting ready for co-op. We have co-op twice a month. We meet on the first and third Fridays of each month. So with September 1st falling on a Friday, we have co-op this Friday. We do not do home lessons on co-op days because co-op days take the majority of our day. But this week we also have had quite the heck of a week. On top of just doing our regular lessons and then also prepping the presentations that the boys will do at co-op, we have been dealing with just a lot of stuff at home. My car got rear-ended a few weeks ago. It has been in the shop. I just found out this week that they are going to total my car out, which is fine. I knew it was a possibility. I just really wasn't ready for it because now moving into a holiday weekend, I have 1 week to keep the rental that the insurance company had given me. And I also had to go clean out my car, go release it, get the title to the insurance company so that I can get the check, because I now have to go buy a new car in under a week. And I just wasn't really ready for that. I didn't even know what kind of car that I wanted to. It has not been on my radar to have to buy a new car. So I have spent the last 2 days going to different dealerships, getting in different vehicles, trying to figure out, do I want another car like I had? Do I want a truck? Do I want something different? So our whole week has been really kind of messed up. While my younger son, his lesson plans, because they are a little bit shorter, and his stuff is less intense because I sit with him and, we do more one-on-one. My older son has gotten behind just a little bit. Not his fault, totally just what the situation was this week. So today, instead of stressing that we were just not going to get it all done, I just was able to move a few of his items forward into next week. It's not going to put him behind. I mean, it's like one math lesson, one Spanish lesson, nothing that is going to make a huge dent, I guess, in anything. And so today what he had to do was finish the things that needed to be done this week. So for example, he had a history quiz that needed to be finished. He has a paper that is due for co-op tomorrow that he was a little behind on, that he has to finish today. So today we decided to make the focus doing the needed things, and then we could push the other stuff to next week. And so for me, not planning too far out ahead gives me the wiggle room to do this. And unfortunately, it's just what happens in life. These are the things that occur. If my kids were in public school and their teacher was out, they would have a sub and they would be doing busy work. But since we're home, we can still finagle our schedule so that we still get things done. What I have found though is that for me, planning week by week actually takes too much time. It's easier for me to sit down and do lesson plans on a monthly basis instead of sitting down every single week and doing them on a weekly basis. So that is something that you're gonna have to figure out what's better for you. If going week by week is easier, then I definitely suggest doing that. The format that I use and that I'm going to show you, that absolutely will work for you to plan week by week. If planning out for a month is your jam, then this will also allow you to do that. And the method that I use gives me the maximum amount of planning with the minimum amount of time put in. So let's go look at that. So the very first thing I do is I put in all of the holidays, our co-op days, any field trips that we might have. Just go ahead and get those knocked out so that I know what days I need to plan for. The next lessons that I plug in are ones from curriculum that are very open and shut. So, for example, The Good and the Beautiful gives you lesson plans, they're done, they're ready to go. I'm not having to source a whole bunch of different activities. So I go through the books, write down the lessons. I also always include the page numbers because a few of the lessons are typically a little bit longer, even 4 to 5 pages. And so if I encounter a longer lesson like that, or I encounter a lesson that has a very long independent review section, I will break that up over the course of 2 days. It just helps better with attention. And then also Kevin's frustration level is a little bit less. You will see here on Monday, I have a review binder day. And Mondays look very different for us throughout the week. So I will touch on that in a little bit, but just know Mondays are very different. So this would be a longer lesson that I was talking about. The lesson itself is 3 pages, and then the independent review is 2 pages long. So what I will do is we will do the lesson on one day, and then we'll do the independent review on the next day, and that just gives us a better flow. So next I've done the same thing with math. Again, I break the lessons up as I need to. If the lesson is really long, then I will go ahead and spread it out over the course of 2 days. We also do not do a Good and the Beautiful math lesson on Monday. That is part of our review day as well. So I will, again, touch on that in just a minute. Next, I move on to reading. The first thing I make sure to put in is QRT. That is quality reading time. That is just where I can make sure that I check off that my son has read. We do 30 minutes of independent reading a day. He gets to pick the book, and we usually break it up into 2 sessions, but that is what we do for him. Then the next thing that you'll see up in reading is RAR. So we follow Sarah Mackenzie on the Read Aloud Revival, and each month being a premium member means that they pick a beautiful picture book or a chapter book, and they send you lesson plans based on that book. So there's always a cooking activity, there's a poem, there's copy work, there's a variety of activities in a bunch of different areas. And by putting RAR down, I just make sure that we are doing one of those activities a day. I do not list them out specifically. I let them kind of flow with whatever our day has put for us. But I always want to make sure that I'm not forgetting to do one of those activities. The next thing I put in our lesson plans is writing. And if you've seen my earlier video on the curriculum we're using for 2nd grade, you can go back and watch that video. I do talk a little bit about it, but writing is something that we have only formally introduced this year. There is a ton of research out there on how really we push kids too young to start writing. Kindergarten is not an appropriate age to start a large amount of handwriting or writing. Now, if your kids are interested in writing and they want to do the pencil thing, I'm not saying you should stop them. However, from a developmental standpoint, writing is one of those things that kids should not be perfecting their letters in kindergarten. They should be working on hand strength, grip, hand formation, fine motor activities. That's really the focus that they should be doing in kindergarten. When it comes more towards 1st grade, you could start some handwriting, maybe some tracing and things like that. But ultimately, handwriting itself and just large quantities of writing are not going to improve your little one's handwriting over the course of their lifetime. Allowing them their hands and their muscles to fully develop to where they should be is actually going to benefit you more in the long run. I've also found over the course of many years that many boys are averse to writing, especially in their younger years. As they get older, I know some boys that just, they are writers. They love to write. They're creating books and stuff like that. That's not my kids. That's neither of my boys. Even my oldest, he doesn't like to write. If he can type it, he's much happier. But ultimately, neither of them really prefer writing. So with that being in mind, when we started this year, we did start with a writing curriculum. We are using IEW, and I do like it, but I find it rather intense at points. And so I often break our IEW lessons up over the course of 2 weeks. Kevin is just now getting to the point where he's starting to enjoy writing, and he's voiced that to me over this past month. I think he likes the structure of IEW, and I think it gives him like a map of how to do things versus if I just look at him and say, hey, let's make up a story, and he kind of struggles with that right now. So with that in mind, he also gets frustrated if I put an IEW lesson in front of him and say we're doing the whole thing, or we're writing the entire paragraph the way they do it. So I break it up typically over the course of 2 weeks, unless it is incredibly short. And I honestly cannot stress this enough. One of my goals for schooling is to keep my kids from hating school. I grew up hating school. I wasn't bad at school, but I never really enjoyed it. And so what I would really love for my kids to get out of this experience is the opportunity to enjoy school. Maybe not all of it, because, I don't know. If you just don't like something, or you're having to do something to kind of check a box, which in high school you have to take some courses that make no sense, but you do them because you just have to. But for the most part, I want my kids to at least find value in everything we're doing. And so cramming a whole bunch of lessons down their throat just for the sake of doing them is not going to provide the value of that activity. So I interject here to tell you, if your kids are just really struggling with writing, or you're struggling and everybody hates writing, it's okay to back it up. It's okay to slow it down, and it's okay to spread it out, because the end goal isn't that they are amazing writers. I mean, maybe they will be, but if they're going to be amazing writers, they're going to be amazing writers. The end goal is that they're at least proficient at writing. And hey, by the way, if your kids are little, they have all the way through high school to be proficient at writing. So that's not something you're going to teach them all in 1 year. So don't stress about that. But ultimately, if they hate writing because we've jammed it down their throats too soon, then they're never going to really be proficient at writing, because every time they have to write, they're going to be pushing back on you. So just a little TED Talk moment here. It's something I feel very strongly about, obviously, because I feel like I say it in most of my videos when I'm talking about littles and homeschooling. But also just for moms, like, don't feel like you're not doing enough, because you probably are. And even if you're not, you don't have to overload it, all right? So let me show you how I break up our writing and why it's working for us, and it might just work if you have little guys too. So this is a perfect lesson to show you. This lesson in IEW is one of the longer lessons. It includes the paragraph that they read, then they do an outline. It also has a game that is going to take up some time. And then on the back, it has another activity working on nouns and adjectives. So this is a lesson that I would break up over the course of 2 weeks. The first 2 days, I would work with Kevin on doing the reading portion. And then one day we would do the first 3 lines. The second day, we would fill out the second 3 lines. So that's going to knock out Tuesday and Wednesday for us. Then on Thursday, we would do the game that was on those 2 pages. And we would also just kind of review that paragraph, just to kind of go over it and have him practice retelling me based on his outline. Friday, we would complete this page here just as a quick thing, and also go over his vocabulary cards. And then the following week, we would still be in that lesson, but we would take that week for him to dictate or write his outline into an actual writing, into a written paragraph for me to then grade. So over the course of those days, he's going to do that. He's going to draw a picture, and then we're done. This is the first year we have used this curriculum for science. This is really the first year we've used any curriculum for science. And these lessons are generally about 30 pages long. So for us, I have already planned on using this over the course of the next 2 years for us to get through each lesson. And so I am going to just break this up over the next month for us to do. The nice thing is these lessons are broken up where they have different headings and they have experiments throughout the lesson. And Kevin is really interested in experiments. And so that's another reason that I decided to break it up. So what I've done here for my lesson plans is I've just written the page numbers we'll be doing, and I've written the heading titles to help me keep on track, and also built in time to do those experiments. They always take longer than you would think. And so over this month, we're just going to do a few headings. Mondays we'll review, and then the rest of the week we'll do a few more pages. And what this does is allow me to go through at a slower pace so we have time to enjoy the curriculum, learn the terms, and also do the experiments. That was the one request that Kevin had, was that he would be able to do some experiments this year. This last month of September, we are going to max out our experiment week. But I also love that throughout this month, we have this notebook that goes with the curriculum that he can fill out. We can practice learning how to take notes. Again, this is writing, so that's not why I'm really stressing about getting every writing lesson done in 1 week, because we are writing in other areas. This just has some fun things, some to do, vocabulary crosswords. There's a copy work page, there's a print side, and there's also a cursive side. We won't be doing the cursive side right now. I'm not really worried about it. Places to put in activities that they have you do in the text. And then here they have even more experiments, but also places for you to write down about the experiments that you have done throughout the lesson. And then that is our quiz that we will use. If I was giving a grade, I would grade that. I don't give grades in elementary, so this will just be something to kind of see what he remembers. This year, Kevin wanted to learn typing and Spanish. We do this on a loop schedule, so 1 month he does typing as an elective, the next month he does Spanish. But I do not fill these out. When he is doing typing, I just check the boxes on the days that we've done them. And then on this month for Spanish, I will just fill in whatever pages he completes that day, just as a marker of where we are. And so I can also have a visual of the days that he did complete Spanish. We also put our music and art on a loop schedule as well. So this month is art. We are going to be learning about Da Vinci. And so this is an amazing curriculum that I found, or it's not really a curriculum, I guess it's a resource, but this is something they send you a story about the life of the artist, and then also 6 of his most famous works. And so what we will be doing is breaking this up over the course of a month. We will be watching some YouTube videos about him. We're doing Da Vinci this month, obviously. And then each week we will look at 2 or 3 of the different paintings that he's done. YouTube will give us a lot more of the stuff that he has done, but these were just some of his most famous. I will break up reading the story over the course of a few days. And then the really cool thing is each of the painting cards that they give you the story of the painting as well. So we will be able to have information on that painting and not just look at it and go, oh, what a pretty picture. So each week we will do like a YouTube review, and then throughout the rest of the week, we will read part of the story on his life and study the different paintings, and that will cover it. So that basically finishes up how I plan throughout the month for elementary. I did want to come back though and talk to you guys about Mondays. Mondays for us tend to be kind of a review day. And, well, I won't say they're kind of a review day. They are just a review day. And I do this for a couple reasons. And I actually do it different for each of my kids. So for Kevin, Monday, we're getting back into the swing of things. We've had a weekend. Their dad has been home. Sundays we spend as family days. Saturdays are usually pretty crazy, either doing stuff here around the homestead, either by ourselves if my husband has to work on Saturdays, or big projects when daddy's home, stuff like that. Mondays are just, he's a little slower to get back into the swing of things. And so I also kind of echo that sentiment, but I'm also usually trying to get the house put back together over the weekend, especially during times when we are outside a lot over the weekend. The floors need to be swept. The kitchen needs usually to be picked up because I've cooked, and dishes need to be put away and things need to be cleaned up. And I just function better when my house is just sort of put back together. If we've had friends over that weekend, the playroom is usually a mess, so I need all 65,000 Nerf bullets to be picked up. And I just like to kind of do a little bit of a reset for our house on Monday. I also tutor during the week, and Monday is not a tutor day for us. So I do have some extra time to kind of get things in and get things done so that the house can be a restful place for us throughout the week. So with that, I have learned that for him, making Monday a review day where we do a little bit less work or we do something a little different than what our daily schedule would be with lessons actually has worked out extremely well. So I'll show you here on Mondays for a regular week for us. We always do RAR, even if it's just reading the book or looking through the pictures for the book for that month. I don't really negotiate on RAR. I love that, that way of teaching literature. And then we always do QRT. So he has to do his 30 minutes. And the nice thing is, even if we break it up into 3 10-minute blocks or 2 15-minute blocks, he knows that he has to do it. And it's something where I can get him started and then, go mop the kitchen really quick or go do something. And it's independent for him, which frees me up to do the things that I feel like I need to do. Then for writing, we typically take Mondays and we do something different as far as writing. We very rarely do IEW. I think we've only done it once on a Monday this week, and that's because of the way our schedule worked out. But I have been working with Kevin on learning how to write a letter and address envelopes. And so Monday we pick someone to write a letter to. It doesn't even really have to be about anything. Sometimes we pick other homeschool families. Sometimes we pick relatives or friends or whatever. Just learning how to write a letter, come up with a few things to put in there, and then addressing the envelope and putting it, we take our mail to the post office. So we do that on Mondays. That takes the place of writing for us. And oftentimes there's a phonics element in that because he's asking me how to spell something and I'm helping him sound it out. So I'm really kind of hitting two birds with one stone at that point. That is also a great day for us, whether we are doing art or music that month for our elective. We will do YouTube videos. And that also applies to us typically for science and history. If it's the very beginning of the month, we do like introduction videos. If it's further on and we have a specific topic, so for example, for science, when we do this, we will have done some of the terms of matter. So we'll watch a video on matter, and there's some really cute kids videos on there. SciShow for Kids is a great one. Dr. Binocs is another one that we really like that just kind of sticks to the facts and doesn't get too political or, too out there with anything. It just kind of factual information and moves on. And it's a cute little cartoon. And he loves those. So then also we'll do a YouTube video for Da Vinci. Again, just an introduction to his life or his works. Or we watch those as a review because even though the resource that I have does give information, there is a definite difference in hearing a story and seeing things in front of you, seeing pictures or stuff like that. And then for phonics and math, typically we do something and I just call it Review Binder. The Review Binder is, in my opinion, one of the most epic tools in the world for elementary kids. And the nice thing is, it is not fancy. It's not. And here's how we came up with a Review Binder. When I left teaching, I brought home with me all of my files printed with worksheets that I had collected throughout the years. And of course, having a class of, 8 to 14 kids, I had a lot of duplicates. And so as I started to go through some of that stuff, whether I was looking for resources or I was just trying to clean some stuff out because we do live in a very small house, I was coming across all of these worksheet duplicates that were what we were working on at that time, whether it was phonics or letter sounds or, which I guess technically is phonics, sorry. it's been a day, or math or whatever. So instead of throwing those away, I just started hole punching them. Well, I didn't want to add anything extra to our lessons because I already feel like the curriculum choices that I've made have completely filled the needs that we have as far as learning things. But I did want something where we could review some of those concepts or just get extra practice, but also that it would look different. Keeping things kind of mixed up a little bit is really key for Kevin. And so the birth of the review binder came. So all we have is regular 3-ring binder. I went to Hobby Lobby. I let him pick out his favorite scrapbook paper. His favorite animal is a flamingo. My entire backyard looks like a Florida retirement home. So you will see flamingos on almost everything that Kevin has. And in them, I put essentially just the old worksheets that I had that went with whatever topic we were doing. Now, they have changed over the course of the last few years. We've gone from counting worksheets and tally marks to place value. We did money and time over the summer. If I did not have worksheets for a specific area, another great option is to go to the dollar store and just get some of their workbooks. Kevin just finished an addition and subtraction one. This is a morning starter one. So this has a little bit of everything. This has a word of the day, consonant blends or some kind of phonics element, sentence correction, a little bit of math, some spelling, stuff like that. This is a little bit of everything. But you could also just get single subject ones. Those I think actually are better. I don't know, I just picked this one up. So something like that. There are plenty of free worksheets online you could print. You don't have to get really crazy with it. The idea behind the review binder is that you are putting something in there that they are familiar with, that they are almost independent with, or maybe even completely independent with, but something where you're not having to sit down next to them and work them through a lesson. This is just a time for them to learn how to be independent, to learn that idea of do my work, mom can check it, but it also gives you an opportunity to get things done. So as a stay-at-home mom, you're gonna have more messes. You're gonna notice that, as homeschooling, like there's eraser poop everywhere by the end of the day that I'm sweeping up or we're cleaning off the tables or whatever. It just is what it is. But if you are feeling like, oh gosh, if I just had one day a week where I could get this done, it would be amazing. For me, that's Monday. I need one day just to reset my house, clean up any big messes, especially the kitchen. The kitchen for me is like a really big trigger point. But also, I don't want the kids just playing or sitting around doing nothing. And I know I don't want them just playing. I know that sounds bad. I don't mean it that way. But like, I still need an element of school on those days because we work our school days so that we're done pretty much by lunch. And so they do have playtime all afternoon. So when I say I don't want the kids playing, I don't mean it that way. I just mean I don't need them shooting Nerf guns at each other all day long, especially because Logan still has school. So I can't have Kevin just like bored and, zoned out on whatever it is he gets zoned out on. I don't know. It changes weekly. But again, I am still working on review and I'm teaching independence. So if you have not tried the review binder, I really highly recommend it. I don't know. It might even deserve its own video at this point. I'm not sure. If you think we should do a totally separate video, let me know in the comments below, because I could do so much more about a review binder. I just love it. And I love that I feel a sense of accomplishment that we've done school and my house gets put back together. Okay, so I think, I just think it's a great thing. But also I love that on a Monday when we're trying to get back on track with things, it gives me so much freedom. Now, I will tell you, you have the option. Monday is just our day. Logan's like more free day is Fridays, because he typically has things like loose ends that he needs to tie up. Logan also is that kid that he starts strong and then he peters out throughout the week. So by Friday, his brain is mush. Whereas Kevin's the opposite. He's more like a diesel engine. It takes him a minute to get revved up, but then once he gets going, like, we're good to go. Logan and Kevin, they're complete opposites. Again, the beauty of homeschooling, you get to do what works for each kid. And quite honestly, it's really nice that on Mondays, when I'm trying to get things done and Logan's trying to get started, I have a little bit more time with Logan on Mondays to kind of get him focused on where he needs to go and like explain, okay, this week's project, or, you know, like sit with him as he gets started on things. And then by Friday, Logan's kind of finishing up, or I might just be grading some things for him, and Kevin's still doing like work that I have to sit with him. So I'm not pulled in two different directions. Both kids get that important time of mine, whether it means helping them like start strong or helping them finish strong. So that's been another cool thing with the review binder, is adding that time in where every kid gets what they need, and I'm not feeling like I'm shortchanging one or the other. And if you homeschool more than one kid, you know it gets like that sometimes. There's sometimes that I've got to tell my older kid, hey, hold on a minute, because I got to finish this with Kevin. You know, like Logan sometimes has to wait or move on to something else and come back to something he needs me for, because once we get Kevin moving, like, we got to keep him moving. If I let go, you know, he's going to wander and it'll take me 10 minutes to get him back. So building in that margin with the review binder has also really helped in our week. And I schedule that in. I make sure that is on our lesson plans. That is not an extra thing. That is a grace period for me, and also an independence building skill for him. So I feel like I threw a ton of information at you in this video, and if you have any questions or you need me to break something else down, please comment below. I am getting used to answering comments. I just realized the other week that a lot of you really resonated with some of my first homeschool videos and actually commented, and so I was a few weeks behind on responding, and I apologized for that. I never knew that what I had to say people would really need to hear. So that made my heart feel really good. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your support. This is just a channel where I kind of, you know, share what I think and what we do. So I'm glad that it's helped some of you. And again, if you have questions or anything, comment below. I will definitely be on the lookout for them this time, and it won't take me as long. But I appreciate you guys spending some time with me today, and I hope this helped. I will be putting out another video on scheduling high school, because that looks very different than what this looks like for us. And so maybe that can help some of you as well. But I hope to see you guys soon, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.